And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day, and it is another fun and exciting day to talk about Ahsoka, because it's always a fun and exciting day to talk about Ahsoka. But today it's episode 4 of the Ahsoka series, and I tell you, I am loving this show. That's why I'm still talking about it every week, and I plan on talking about it for another 3 or 4 weeks and probably beyond, because I just love Ahsoka. And this episode was fun. Lots of excitement, lots of interesting things. So let's dive into it. And first, just a warning: I am speaking full spoilers. This episode's been out for a week. Part 5 is live as this goes live. So full spoiler warning on this one. But episode 4 had all sorts of fun stuff, right? You have Ahsoka, you have Sabine, and Huyang down on the planet, and the bad guys are coming, because they said that at the end of the last episode. And even though they say they're not coming, we all know Hera's going to show up in this episode, and she does. So, yay! That's fun. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the bot fight at the beginning was fun. The guards, the HK droids, and some other guards, they show up. And that's the first line of, yeah, Ahsoka and Sabine are not that easily taken. And Huyang apparently can fight somewhat, which, given that he did lightsaber training, I suppose isn't that surprising. It just would have been easier if he had actually had a lightsaber, I guess. But yeah, he holds his own there a little bit, or for a little while, I guess. But then out comes Ahsoka and Sabine in her full Mando armor, and oh yeah, the guards don't stand a chance. There was a great moment. Sabine's in a little bit of trouble, and Ahsoka just uses the Force to grab one guy, pulls him in front of his compatriot, who then proceeds to shoot him in the back a few times before Ahsoka tosses him out of the way. It's like, oh, that's a little brutal, but also very cool. Using your enemies as shields has been a thing in action movies forever, and it's just sort of fun to see. As I said, Hera was definitely showing up in this episode. She was not going to get left behind. That's not who Hera is. And yep, she loaded up the ghost. She grabbed Jason. She grabbed Chopper. I said, "All right, we are off." There was a great line. She's heading out to the ghost, and her lieutenant, or I think it's her chief of staff or somebody, comes up to her, says, "You can't leave without authorization. Just watch me." Just happy and cheerful. It's like, "Oh no, I'm going. There's nothing you can do to stop me. I am leaving now." It's like, yep, this is Hera. This is the Hera we all know and love. Now, it was a little disappointing that Zeb or Rex or even Callus don't join in the fun, but I mean, Zeb may just be a victim of budget, to be honest. The last time we saw Zeb, he was with Carson Teva in Mandalorian Season 3. Well, Carson and 4 other pilots join Hera to head out and help Ahsoka. Zeb is not one of them. And like I said, I think, as much as I would have loved to have seen Zeb, I think he might have been a budget cut. We want Zeb, but he's expensive. But regardless, we knew Hera was coming, and she shows up. So that was great. But the rest of rest of the episode is basically one lightsaber fight after another. You get Ahsoka and Sabine now fighting. In video game terms, they've just blown through all the mobs, and now it's time for the mid-boss, right? You've got Marok, you get Shin Hati, and then you've got the next level boss in Balin's Skull. Now, it turns out Marok wasn't that big a deal to begin with. So, so Sabine and Hera, I do that a lot. I did that last episode too. Sabine and Ahsoka are dealing with the apprentice, right? They're dealing with Shin, they're dealing with Marok. And they split. Huyang says stay together because you're better together. And of course they split up immediately because of course they do. These are both strong, independent women who are happy being independent, apparently. I'll get to Ahsoka I guess I could get to Ahsoka in a minute and talk Sabine. Now, Sabine is not as good as Hati with a blade. She just isn't. But what's interesting is she holds her own for a while, some using her Mando tricks, and she goes blasters first because she's better with her blasters. Okay, fair. She gets thrown into a tree and her helmet gets knocked off. And it's like, I thought that was a little bit of a surprise, and they linger on it for a bit. You see them fighting off in the distance, and there's just the camera's like, here's her helmet. Right? It pans off them, I think, even. There's her helmet. We'll focus on them. They're fighting in the background. And now we go back. And there's some fun stuff. I mean, again, we see that Sabine has no control of the Force. She gets disarmed, right? She loses her lightsaber. Shin's standing over her with her blade as Sabine reaches up, just like, I am going to pull my lightsaber to me. And Shin quick looks back for the lightsaber to come zipping by her, and it, of course, doesn't. Like, you have no power. And Sabine just lets into her with her wrist rockets and disarms Shin. Now, while this is going on, Ahsoka is in a classic samurai showdown with Marok. She is using one lightsaber, which she used two with the bots. So I don't know why she's using one here. She still has the other one. She's wearing it, but she's got the one. But this could have come straight out of a Kurosawa film. She's standing there with her lightsaber up and ready, and there's Marok with the classic Inquisitor spinning blades of death, and she just he charges, and she's like one step, slices between the spinning blades, and slices Marok. I mean, there's no fight there, right? This is a very classic samurai showdown. And Marok, he's turns out is a slightly gaseous. Either he had too much Taco Bell, or he was animated by Night Sister magic. Now, in Star Wars, it's probably the latter, but there are days where, you know what? I feel like the former. You know, if you were to slice me open after Taco Bell, that's what it would look like. It would be all that green mist. So, given that Elsbeth up there, what is a Night Sister, does not surprise me. Does not surprise me at all. But that happens. Shin freaks out as Ahsoka goes to go get the map and stop the bad guys from doing bad guy things. Okay? Because this is what Ahsoka does. And she goes to Skull. Now, Skull is fun because he's a very contemplative villain. He's definitely holding on to a lot of his Jedi roots. Because, like the episode title says, he is a fallen Jedi. And he sits down and talks to Ahsoka. He doesn't even, his lightsaber's not ignited. She, in fact, lights hers first. But he knows Anakin became Darth Vader. He tries to, it's like, no, this is for the greater good. And I hate the greater good arguments. And this is exactly why. Because anyone can justify anything if they claim it's for the greater good, right? And Skull pulls out the unfortunate truth that you must destroy in order to create. Now, some people have called Ahsoka a gray Jedi, which is foolishness. I think Skull embodies that quote-unquote gray Jedi everything, really, personality, mindset. Because the problem with the concept of a gray Jedi is the concepts of Jedi light side and dark side are diametrically opposed. The dark side destroys, the light side creates. But the light side includes the normal processing and destruction of life, right? Death is a part of life. The eventual decay of that life is just part of nature. The dark side wants to destroy and force things into its own image. So Skull very much feels like that sort of gray Jedi. Of course, I want things to be peaceful and great and lovely, but I have to destroy everything that exists first. All right. Now, inevitably they fight. And again, Ahsoka is fighting one-handed. She has both lightsabers, but she's only using one of them, despite having used two in every other fight that she's been in today. Right? And the rest of the series, for that matter. I could kind of maybe understand, it's like she wants to keep a hand free because she keeps fighting her way towards the map and she wants to be able to pull it out of the little flamey stand thing that it's in. In any case, they fight. Shinko's running in because she's going to go help. Right? She sort of abandoned her fight with Sabine to go maybe take revenge on Ahsoka, maybe something, I don't know. But she shows up. Sabine is presumed dead by Ahsoka because, hey, the person she's fighting is still alive. Obviously, Sabine didn't make it, right? And Ahsoka, she ends Shin in a hurry. Doesn't kill her, but slams her head first into a rock. Shin is going nowhere and probably is going to be having a little bit of a ringing in her ears for the next 8 months. That concussion has got to suck. And eventually, Sabine does show up. And Ahsoka, now fighting one-handed because she's burned her hand on the map, gets forced over the edge of a cliff. Now, we know she's not dead. The show's got her name on it, and we're only halfway through it. Okay. Also, we'll see her again in a little bit, but here's Sabine, and now we get back to Skull being the I don't want to fight you. And you can tell he's got some sort of gift of insight. Now, he also probably has some knowledge, but he talks Sabine down. They never actually fight. She shoots at him a few times and he deflects the blaster bolts, but that's about as far as it gets. She tries to threaten him by holding the map and putting a gun to the map, right? In her hand. This is the stupidest thing that I have seen in Star Wars in a long time. Here, I will hold this thing and put my blaster to whatever the thing is and hope that whatever I'm shooting, the bolt doesn't go through the thing and through my hand. Because that's exactly what's going to happen the way Sabine is holding the map and her gun. This is ridiculous. This is in the do not do. Okay. But it does give you the classic hostage vibes and all that sort of thing. But there are a couple of interesting things we learned. We've learned that Sabine's family is dead. They were still alive at the end of Rebels. And according to Skull, again, unreliable source potentially, but fairly certain that this is the truth. We do know Sabine, he says Sabine's family died on Mandalore, and the look on her face is, yes, she knows this. And he says, because Ahsoka didn't trust Sabine, right? It's because Ahsoka didn't trust you. Your family is dead. And that's an interesting thought. Did Ahsoka refuse to leave her behind and go to Mandalore to try to stop the Night of 1,000 Tears, or what? We don't know. All we have is a line, but it's really interesting. The guys on Force Center like to call it tip of the iceberg storytelling. We've just seen the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more there that we may or may not get into. We probably will, in all honesty. I fully expect we're going to get into the rest of Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship as the series goes on. Because again, Ahsoka's not dead. They're going to come together probably not next episode, but episode 6 perhaps. Okay, so Shin eventually shakes off her head-smashing good time, and Shin definitely knows how to hold a grudge. She sees Sabine. I think she knows that, she may not know that Sabine has surrendered, but it's like, no, we're going straight to the Force choke. Until Skull backs her off, because Sabine does what was foretold from the beginning of the episode. The beginning of the episode, Sabine and Ahsoka are talking. And Ahsoka asks if she can count on Sabine and says, they have a choice. They may have to destroy the map and leave Ezra stranded. And with the line along the lines of, you must choose between what's right, even if it's against your own self-interest, really. And we know that's not happening. As soon as that line comes out, it's like, okay, yes, Sabine is going to be, she's going to end up betraying Ahsoka, or betraying her mission to try to save Ezra. Because Ezra is the only family she has, according to Skull. So, yeah, so she surrenders and gets taken aboard the big ring ship. And, of course, now Hera and company show up as the ship goes into hyper. And are sort of in the way. Elsbeth tells her droid crew, yeah, they're in the way. Ignore them. We are going to hyper. And they blow right past the rest of the ships. Now, it's a giant ring. It might have gone around everybody, but we didn't get a hold-on maneuver type thing here. What we got was at least 3 X-Wings down because of getting blown out by the wake. Okay, so Carson Teva is one of the ones who's still around. I think one of the other human pilots is as well, and they may pick up 1 or 2 of the others from the wreckage of their X-Wings. But they didn't go to warp, right? To use a Star Trek term, right? They didn't go into hyperspace. They're stuck on the planet. I say stuck because next episode, they are going to hijack some Purgles and they are following. Okay. This is definitely how this is going to happen, right? They're going to pick up Hu Yang. Though they may find Hera's helmet, and they might find Ahsoka. And Ahsoka is going to be a little weird. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I fully expect, like, okay, how do we follow them? Well, set your comms to channel 0 tie yourself to a Purgle and let's ride, because that's how this thing works. I mean, that's how they got the Purgles to jump in the first place with Thrawn. That's what's going to happen here too. Now, let's talk the weirdness with Ahsoka. She falls off a cliff. The camera pans. Here's the roaring waves at the foot of the cliff. You don't see Ahsoka. You don't see anything. Just waves. And it pans over and pans over. And there's a subtle texture change. And now we are in the world between worlds. Now, if you've never seen Rebels, you should change that. But there's a 2-episode arc. There's the world between worlds, and I forgot the episode after it. But we see it's basically this big void with these sort of glowing walkways, which again you see in the episode, so that's cool. But it's a connection between all points in time and space, is how it ends up sort of being described or discovered by Ezra and Ahsoka. And Ahsoka hears somebody call out, "Hey, Snips," and she turns around. "I didn't expect to see you so soon." And it says Anakin Skywalker standing there on the platform. Now, there's lots of debate. Is it actually Anakin? No, it's not actually. Well, it's not Anakin Skywalker as he would be at that point of time, because that Anakin Skywalker is barbecue. Luke cooked him. Vader is dead. And Luke gave him a Viking funeral. Okay? He went up on the pyre. So, what is Ahsoka seeing? Is it Anakin's Force Ghost? Possibly. Is it a version of Anakin from some other part in the timeline? Maybe. Is it the brother from the why am I blanking on this stupid, because it's such a big deal. There are 3 sort of Force gods, I guess, if you want to put it that way. There's the father, who is balance. There's the daughter, who's the light side, and there's the brother, who's the dark side. And this trinity is sort of the trinity of the Force, if you want to look at it, with the father balancing out the light and dark side. Ahsoka has at some point basically absorbed the sister's energy. Okay? Yeah, I haven't seen the episodes in a while in the Clone Wars where this happens, but it's a thing. Anakin was tempted by the brother and shown his path as Vader. So, what we could be seeing here is a reunion not of, or maybe not specifically of, Ahsoka and Anakin, but of the sister and the brother. Now, I'm not sure if Filoni is going to go full Force mysticism here, but he might. I do like the idea of Ahsoka connecting with Anakin again and actually having some real meaningful discussions there. On the other hand, Kevin Kiner's score, which is awesome and amazing as always, starts whipping out the Imperial March. And so it's very possible we are seeing some version of Anakin that is not the kind, friendly Master Skywalker that Ahsoka knew. Now, I don't have all the deep meanings and answers to all of this. It was really fun and exciting, and I'm really the cliffhanger. I don't want to be hanging on this cliff for another week. You know, come on, man. But, and of course, as this airs, this podcast goes up, you don't have to wait. Heck, you may have already seen episode 5 and know it's coming up. But I had a random thought. I know a lot of my thoughts are random, but this one in particular. There's been a question around the show about when does it sit in the timeline? which is not uncommon for Star Wars, because Star Wars canon junkies are hardcore canon junkies. But the question is, where does this sit in the timeline? Well, we've got some general times. It's in the same period as the Mandoverse, because you've got Carson Teva, right, all this stuff. What if this comes before Book of Boba Fett? Right, we know in Book of Boba Fett, there's a little interlude of Din Djarin going to see Grogu. And he's stopped by Ahsoka. And Ahsoka convinces him that it's in the best interest to leave the Beskar chainmail that he had made for Grogu and leave Grogu to his training. But when Din asks Ahsoka why she's there with Luke, she tells him that she's an old friend of the family, right? Obviously, she trained with Anakin Skywalker. Connecting with his son it makes sense, right? Especially since he is the first of a new order of Jedi that is trying to spin up, right? Luke is trying to reform the Jedi Order. He's building a school during the episode. What if in this moment in the world between worlds, she has these discussions with Anakin, and whether it's actually Anakin or not, this is what sends her then to Luke at the end of the series or at some point in the series, to reconnect, to be that old friend of the family that she says. It could very well be. I'm also kind of thinking that, what if, again, we're seeing not the actual Anakin Skywalker pre-fall, but what if what we're seeing is a projection of Ahsoka's dark side in the form of Anakin, right? Now, she's not a Jedi, but in all honesty, Ahsoka lives the Jedi ideals better than just about anybody in the Order that we see. Except, or maybe even including Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is a very strict poster boy for the Jedi Order, up to following the tenets even when maybe they're not necessarily the right thing to be doing. Ahsoka is, we're going to do the right thing, and sometimes the rules are not there to help us. Okay, so she may be wrestling with that here a little bit. In all, whatever happens, I'm really excited, right? I wish I had some deep insight. I don't study Star Wars. It's my favorite world and series to be in. But there's a lot that's going on here, and there's a lot that can go on, and I am really excited for the next episode. And as I said, I fully expect Hera and friends are going to pick up Ahsoka. They'll pick up Hu Yang. They'll find Sabine's helmet, and they're going to lash themselves to some Purgles and channel Zero, and off they go. Because remember, Hera knows Purgles. Right? She knows. She's dealt with them before. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.